All right, hello and welcome to another Expert Inside interview. My name is John Golden from SalesPOP, online sales magazine and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Omer Sasson, who is all the way over in Tel Aviv in Israel. How you doing, Omer?
I'm very good, thank you.
Yeah, and Omar has been working alongside e-commerce brands, helping them navigate the complexities of sourcing and manufacturing in Asia. He's the founder of the Sassoon company. He works primarily with mid-size Amazon sellers, businesses that have grown past the early stages and now need a trusted partner to refine their supply chain, improve product quality, and secure better supplier relationships. And what we're going to talk about today is product sourcing, supply chain optimization for Amazon sellers. And as I said just before we came on air, Omer, it would be remiss of us not to get an update from your point of view on how the announcement of tariffs here in the US has is going to affect Amazon sellers and the supply chain.
So, just in case somebody missed it, as for like 4 hours ago, 5 hours ago, there was announcement in the news that they are going to increase the tariff to 104%, which
Hmm.
is like crazy. So, how is it going to affect? Bottom line, like people that used to buy product in just for example $5 and sell it with profit. So kind of overnight, it's not only they cannot sell it in profit, they cannot sell it at all.
Hmm.
It will be a loss. So actually, it's affecting all of the Amazon sellers that sell on US, and gonna be have to be very creative to think how to solve this. Personally, even though it's like a big bummer, I'm trying to see it as an opportunity, because if we go back to COVID, I was also in business during
Hmm.
COVID. The shipping cost was crazy, and many company like froze. They stopped all the sourcing, all the supply chain,
Hmm.
and there were companies, and if I look back, some of my customers that not only kept as usual, even tried to push harder, push new products to the market, higher volume, and they succeed to get much bigger market share, because I don't want to say it's easier time to do so, but the competition is lower and not as hard
Hmm.
as usual. So I'm trying to see the opportunity in this.
Right, right, right. And I guess I mean there is I mean if you're a seller, if you're selling in the US market, you may have to start looking at how you source product within this market for a time. Or so what would you so what are some of the product sourcing strategies you would utilize?
So for the past few years, I'm not sourcing only from China. I'm
Mhm.
sourcing from Asia in general.
Right.
And even though there is now also tariff on Vietnam and India and other countries, on India, for example, I think it's 25 or 45. So I already got confused compared to China
Hmm. Hmm.
104%, which mean you definitely should be looking also outside of China. And I'm saying also, like, I don't think that people should react with panic and now,
Sure.
like, leave their suppliers in China and move to Vietnam, because, you don't know. Nobody knows. Is it going to stay like this? Is it going to drop down or not? But you definitely should be looking also outside of China. And if you have a good alternative, I would suggest doing like a trial order. And when I say trial order, probably will be an order that will be a little bit smaller than the order you used to give to your Chinese supplier, because you're gonna need to check things out. And I think it's a good thing to do, even if the tariff wouldn't like be so high. I think it's always good to have diversity and to have second option. So I think looking out also outside of China is definitely something you should do. And the second thing is also to see how can improve the cost if you still source from China? So is it by increasing the volume,
Hmm.
negotiating with the suppliers? Now, when we say negotiating with the supplier, you also need to do something from your side in order for them to reduce price. So again, increasing volume. Maybe there is a product that currently, just for example, you buy the product and the packaging from the same factory. Maybe you can try to improve this by finding a better packaging factory for this and keep buying the product from the same factory and combine them. You can reduce cost this way. So I think splitting factories and combining, doing the assembly, sometimes can also help to save cost, because need to remember that the tariff is on the product cost. So if you succeed to cut down your cost from $10 to $8,
Hmm.
also the tariff is going to be lower.
All right, so that's an interesting strategy. So if you were producing it at $10, or the factory is producing it at $10, and including the packaging, but you could the actual production of the product was like $7, and you could get the packaging for $1 somewhere else. Then $8. Then you can consume the tariff and still be roughly around the same price that you were.
So, transparently, with 104%, you will
Right. Yeah.
not be in the same place. But also need to understand that the game is changing.
Mhm.
So it's probably more about like how you're gonna do marketing and sales for your
Mm.
products, or even though the price increase. And also to remember that the price is going to increase to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not you are going to be the only one like this.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think it's you also should focus on marketing and sales, and definitely should also focus on product quality,
Mhm.
because it's one thing that people gonna pay much more for a product, but if it's not good enough, so they're gonna return it.
Yeah.
But I think if I look at most of the Amazon sellers and Amazon companies that in the business for many years with the same suppliers, usually they work with the same supplier, and from time to time they maybe ask for discount, but probably if you buy the product from the same supplier for the past 2 years, if you look at alternative now, you will be able to reduce costs.
Right, right. And I guess those other people will come up with creative solutions. I know somebody was telling me recently about somebody here in the US that was buying up a lot of warehouse space down on the border to be able to, warehouse and bring in stuff and warehouse it cheaply along the border where it's easy to kind of transport. I mean, it's still going to be impacted by tariffs, but maybe you could, as you said, maybe you could run higher volume that way.
Yeah, actually, I think it's a good strategy. Not everyone can do it because you
Mhm.
need high volume,
Yeah,
and in general, I think people can also look into manufacturing in the US, but to be honest, not every product you can
sure.
manufacture in the US. But it's also something I think people should at least look at. And if you see it's not worth it, good. But you will also be able to know that your competitor isn't going to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess that, like you said, I mean, we've become addicted, let's be honest, to very, very cheap goods. I mean, there's going to be a period of adjustment as people realize that, maybe for the time being, maybe that access to really, really cheap stuff isn't the same. So therefore, what normally happens, as you said, in a time like that, is people start to move to quality. And they say, okay, if I'm going to have to pay more, then I want a quality product. If I'm paying for something cheap, maybe I have a little bit of leeway when it comes to the quality.
Yeah, so I definitely think so. So everyone's price gonna increase. Yeah, maybe some companies will be able to do it a little bit cheaper using some strategies that I
Mhm.
mentioned and other, but quality is going to be super important now. And I think it's not just when people say quality, they think it's like the quality is good and not bad. No, like you have good quality and you have really good quality. I think
Mhm.
any of us once in a while we buy a very good product, iPhone for example, that
Yeah.
it's like the quality is crazy. It's very functional. You can use it for a long time. So I think people should think, okay, maybe just for example, I'm buying and selling glasses, okay,
Yeah.
cocktail glasses, and the price increase. So now it's not just about making good quality. I don't know how can I make the quality super good, because
Mhm.
maybe the end consumer, the end user, if the price is gonna increase so much, he will be ready to pay $1 extra on top of this if you're gonna make the glass even better than before.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, so the yeah, so I think there's a lot of great strategies like that, and I think that's going to be what people are going to be expecting because, like you said, I mean, paying a lot more for the exact same product is going to be hard for a lot of people, right? It's just going to be a hard. It's like that time. It's like when you have a housing, a correction in the housing market, and a house was worth $1 million last week, but now it's only worth 700,000, but in the mind of the owner it's still $1 million $1 million home. It takes a while for people to psychologically readjust to pricing.
By the way, like I have to say, I thought about this just now while you were talking that another thing people should consider is creating sets and packaging, because
Mm,
this is one thing that during COVID worked for us really well. So you, instead of selling products separately that a customer feels they need to pay a lot for each one of them, now you can combine them together into a set, and you kind of create a value pack where people, instead of buy like, let's say you are in the home and kitchen business,
mm,
bartending cocktails, so instead of selling shaker and glass and each item, prepare one set. Usually you can reduce cost this way, and also for the customer, even though they pay more, they feel they get more value. Even you as a company, you didn't really change the product itself, you just combined it into a set.
hmm. Yeah, no, that's another good strategy, and I guess also, as you said, is working with the vendors maybe that you have good relationships with, and seeing how creative they can be. Um, but also, I mean, if you're looking to maybe expand, maybe you want to go look at other vendors now. Maybe you want to do what you said, like split vendors. What should you be looking for in a vendor?
Wow, it's a big question because there are like many things, and I have to say, and it might surprise you, that price is not going to be the number one priority,
Mm,
especially now, by the way, because when you have such a high tariff, if you buy a product at $10 or 9.8, it's going to be
mm,
almost the same.
yeah.
So if I'm looking at a new vendor, first thing I want to know is capability. Can he actually make the same product I'm currently making in China? So I'm looking these days as we speak. I just came back from Japan and in Thailand and Vietnam and many other
Mm,
countries, and I'm looking at new factories. So I'm trying to really see if the factory can actually make the same product in the same volume with consistent quality. It's
mhm,
the number one priority, because if I transfer a product from China to Vietnam, but the factory in Vietnam cannot produce the same quality or consistent quality, it's worth nothing. So I would say capability. And number two will be quality control inside the
mhm,
factory, which, by the way, in China, the factories almost doesn't have quality control systems. In countries like Vietnam, you do have. So you also have advantages.
right.
And trust, which is probably the most important. But I would say the trust, even though it's so important, it's probably something you will not be able to know right away. You will have to try and work with the supplier for a while
Mhm.
before you actually can know if you can trust them or not.
Yeah. And I guess one of the other things that we've seen, especially at times of high demand, is like the vendors who, or when they don't have the logistics worked out very well, and they may have there was, for instance, last holiday season, there was a product that came out. A lot of people were very interested in, like diffusers and that were so. But the problem was the company couldn't fulfill them in time, right? So they were stuck in shipping or they were backlogged and everything. So it ended up with a good product ended up with a very the company ended up with a very negative reputation because people were disappointed because they didn't get their products in time.
Yes, I think this is part of what I meant with capability. So
Yeah.
capability is not only if the product can make it, if
Mhm.
sorry, if the factory can make the product, but can the factory make 10,000 pieces of the product,
Right.
and in how long? And maybe for beginners it's hard to know, but for me and for people with more experience, if you see a factory, you do a factory audit. It's also service we do, but I say like without connection to the factory, we do this service. Like if you do a factory audit and you see them, how many machines they have, is it new machines or like machines from 50 years ago? How many
Right.
employees? Usually you will be able to assess if the factory can make big quantity and consistent quality for a long period of time or not. Because just for example, if you are making bags and you have factory in China and now you are moving to India, just for example, and you do factory audit and you see that the factory, it's actually, they do everything manually, not using big machine.
Mm.
It's probably not going to be consistent and probably there is no chance they can make high volume in a short period of time. So I think it's very important to understand who is the new factory you are about to work with.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely, absolutely, and there's so many variables that come into play with that. So, are there? You mentioned that you went to a lot of different countries. I mean, are there lots of different opportunities? Are there more countries coming on stream, more places that people should be considering?
So surprisingly, I think one of the opportunities is Japan because Japan is super expensive, but they also know how to make super high quality
Hmm.
products. And it just, it's related to what we just talked before about
Yeah.
quality. So I think people should also look like Japan, South Korea, probably. Uh, and yeah, also Vietnam and India have a lot of opportunities. But I think when you look at a new country, you should try to learn what the advantages of the country. So just
Hmm.
for example, in India, they make very good wood product. S- and the plastic products they are making, I don't think they are the best. So it's not just about choosing the right country, it's about choosing the product that this country can do very well.
Right.
And because it's about experience, it's not just about like price and quality. Like, does this factory in this country have experience in making a product? Because in China, they have a lot of experience and skill. So I would say Japan and South Korea have big opportunities, but also Vietnam, if you choose the right product, and India, if you choose the right product, even Thailand in some cases, uh, then you can have a big advantage. Because even if later uh, they will reduce the tariff on China, but
Hmm.
you found a good factory in Vietnam that can make much better quality compared to China, and then you're still gonna have the opportunity. So I think people shouldn't focus right now only about the price and tariff because this
Right.
can change million more times, and we don't know like to which direction.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a really good point because that's a point a lot of people have been making because there's obviously lots of people who love to go on and make videos about how tariffs is the end of the world, or other people how tariffs is the greatest thing that ever happened and we should keep putting more and more on. The reality is nobody really knows what the outcome of this is going to be. So I think to your point, I think making smart decisions and maybe and understanding that the situation as it pertains today is not going to be the same. It's going to change multiple times, so you might as well make the best choices you can make right now.
Yeah, choices that I would say choices that gonna be good for the long term, even if the tariff gonna change.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this has been fascinating, Omar. And how long have you been working? How long have you been doing this?
I've been in Asia for almost 10 years. So now I'm talking to you from Tel Aviv, but
Mhm.
it's like I'm a week here after 1 year and a half. Like I'm most of my life in Asia, I would say.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And just as the last question, what have you seen in those 10 years? What changes have you seen in terms of products and manufacturing?
Okay, funny. Because what I see is the price increase, not just about tariff. Like
Hmm.
if I'm really looking back, I can say, wow, the price is increasing all the time, really increasing. Like I'm looking like 5 years ago and 7 years ago, which again, it's all related to the same point that you cannot focus only on the price. Price is important, yes, but it's gonna keep increase, and this is, I think, the big change, and I think it's going to keep going this way. I
Yeah.
don't think anything is going down anytime soon or ever.
Yeah. And sorry, one last thing. So would you still recommend people to to be selling on Amazon?
Yeah, I think okay, it's this is what I think in general about the world. Okay, like things can happen all the time, right? Before it was COVID, now you have this. Later you're gonna have, I don't know, AI taking
Mm,
control over whatever.
right.
So like it's never when you're in the moment, it never look like the right time. It's always gonna look like the right time was like 1 month
Yeah.
ago or 1 year ago. So I think if you want to do it, just do it and do it all the way rather than like half doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess it's like that old saying, isn't it? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thanks, Omar. This has been fantastic. All of Omar's information will be below this video. But before we go, please do remind people what you do.
So we help brands that make annually at least $1 million to source products, do quality control for the product, find suppliers, and anything around uh, producing the best product in the best price.
Excellent. All right. Well, listen, thanks again, Omar. Thank you for watching
Thank
and
you.
listening. And I will see you all again really soon. Thank you.